Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen. We can't forget it. We got to talk about it for the next 40 minutes or so, which we always do here on the Hot Zone. We'll bring you all sorts of post-game reaction from Florida as it comes in and get lots of analysis from Cheryl Pounder, Jamie McLennan, and Darren Dreger. After two ultra-tight overtime games where there was basically nothing between the two teams, this was a pure Florida flex. Don't you think the exact way they want to play playoff games and the exact reason they've gone to 3 Stanley Cup finals?
And pretty much right from puck drop, too, right? Like, it felt like the Edmonton Oilers were a step behind, again, right from the start of the hockey game, Game 3. And special teams wasn't working in the favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Discipline will be talked about for the next couple of days. But the Florida Panthers also set the tone. And why should we be surprised that Brad Marchand is in the middle of it? I mean, this is less than 1 minute into this hockey game. And a guy who's had a tremendous impact for the Florida Panthers throughout this postseason finds a way on home ice to deliver a relatively lethal blow, because, again, that set the tone of the game, and the Oilers just didn't seem to be able to recover from that point forward.
Yeah, I mean, their heavy forecheck, their layers to the neutral zone, frustrating their opponent, playing with physicality, and you got to look to Sam Bennett. I mean, he's going to get his 14th goal of the playoffs and doing exactly what he does, getting under the skin of his opponent, but also laying some massive hits. He did have 6 in this game, just sort of imposing his will. I mean, look at this blow-up on Puck Colson. Now, again, a second hit on Klingberg. Now all of a sudden there's a disruption of the puck. A great stick by Luosterainen, and jumping through the middle of the ice as we saw him do the whole game. He's going to go backhand to forehand and bury it. So you're talking about a collective group up and down the lineup that's closing ice quickly and exhibiting hits like that, and then having the ability to finish it off with the opportunity. I mean, it was simply an outstanding game for him, performance in all areas.
Just before we go any further, and it's still a long way to go potentially in this series. Is Bennett moving to like Conn Smythe favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. Up there, absolutely.
I mean, 14 goals and everything else that comes with him?
Yes.
Absolutely. When you look at Sam Bennett's body of work, yes, the 14 goals, but it's the, how he plays with some bite and really gets people back on their heels. Yes, people are going to talk about how he goes after the goaltenders and the accidental on purpose plays, but this guy comes to play nightly. He's a force to be reckoned with. He absolutely has to be in the Conn Smythe conversation.
The scary thing for Oilers fans in this one is it was kind of reminiscent of one of the games early in the Stanley Cup final, the blowout game last year. And when Draisaitl, who didn't score in the Stanley Cup final last year and was really quiet in this night, and McDavid was controlled. And that's the statement, maybe the biggest statement the Panthers made.
Absolutely. McDavid gets 2 shots on goal, Draisaitl feathers. And if you want to sum up basically their game in one play, it was McDavid getting hit by Ekblad. But I just look, and the Florida Panthers deserve a lot of credit. But when you look at it, Connor McDavid didn't have a lot. You could see Forsling all over him, Schmidt all over him. Physicality, there's the hit that sent McDavid down. And Forsling, terrific one-on-one, little poke puck play. And to me, there was just no time and space for either one of those star players. You can see that they did not have their A game. They didn't even have their B game tonight. And that's right through the lineup for the Edmonton Oilers. It started at the top.
Yeah, and this is a night where you start to really miss a player like Zach Hyman, right? Everything that he brings, but he can also drag you a little bit deeper into that fight. And it can't always be about 97 and 29. And you look at, the birth certificate of Corey Perry. I mean, this guy is in there every single shift, but he can only do so much. Evander Kane ran into penalty trouble, and we'll see that a little bit later in the Hot Zone. But again, there's an emotionally driven guy, but he has to find a way to channel that energy and deliver offensively. And beyond McDavid and Draisaitl, who were quiet tonight, they just didn't have it.
Yeah, it almost felt like they weren't connected. What I mean by that, a lot of the time they were isolated. And when you're playing in layers against one player like McDavid, if he doesn't have somewhere to move that puck because you're not connected, all of a sudden you can't create. So just felt like there was a disconnect, and it could have been because of the penalties in the first period. There just didn't feel like a lot of flow. And Paul Maurice has the last change, right? So, that can factor in.
As always, we're going to take you into both dressing rooms, and let's start with the Oilers room and Jake Wallman.
Sorry? I think, we didn't get off to a great start with the penalties. Got behind. We got to clean that up.
momentum that take away from you guys? They had 4 power plays in the first period. You guys did a good job of killing the first 3, but just overall, how much momentum did that take away from the game?
Yeah, we got to be more disciplined than that. You can't be. We know better than that. I mean, eventually, they're going to find a way. You know, it's a great team, so shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit there. But yeah, it kind of takes the flow out of it. You know, it's guys that don't play the special teams or PK are sitting on the bench, and just takes the flow out of it. It's tough for guys to get into the game.
What happened at the end of the second period there? Did Gersten and Love, like, what were you upset about?
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
When you scored in the water?
Yeah. I mean, obviously did that for a reason. Won't go into the details. It's just gamesmanship, I guess. You know, it's just got to realize there's cameras everywhere. They see that stuff. So.
How do you guys reset?
We'll have a couple days here to mentally reset. That's the biggest thing after a game like that. Emotions are high, so I can't give you an answer right now.
Is the third period chalked up to those emotions, I guess, with all the extracurriculars we call them?
Yeah, I mean, it's for the Stanley Cup, you know. So it's just not an inch out there. So we got to do it. Everybody's doing everything they can, and it's a grown man's game out there. It's not for the faint of heart. Guys are putting everything on the line, you know.
You mentioned you know better. How hard is it when Clark gets under your skin to not retaliate?
Sorry?
How difficult is it to not retaliate when they start?
Shoot first, pretty much. Initiate. That's pretty much it. If you retaliate, you're going to get called. So initiate, and we can play that game. Yeah.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, now Evander Kane.
Did he just?
I think so.
Late start and early penalties. Team that your team didn't quite look ready to go tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, both teams took 4 penalties in the first period. They had a 2-0 lead, and obviously not the start you want on the road. Yeah.
Did they get under your skin? Did they drive you guys off your game?
No, I don't think so. I think, the game obviously got out of hand at the end there. That stuff is going to happen. I mean, you look at some of the calls and whatnot. Obviously, some of them are frustrating. They seem to get away with it more than we do.
Why are they frustrated?
They seem to get away with it more than we do. I mean, it's tough to find the line. They're doing just as much stuff as we are. It was 4-4 at the end of it, and then it gets out of hand, and there seems to be a little bit more attention in our group.
Evander, does that style of play kind of suit them better? Like, if you need to get to your game a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, look, we didn't play very well. That's evident. We have nobody to blame but ourselves, but we can definitely be a lot better.
Evander, penalties in such a size. It seemed like you guys never really got to your game tonight. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of it is the amount of special teams. I don't know how many minutes there were 5-on-5 in the first period, even the second maybe. I'm not sure. Obviously we make it a 1-goal game. Paris makes a nice play, and then we give it right back. So that's tough, and didn't have the third period. Just it is what it is.
Things have been sailing for you guys pretty well since game 2 yesterday. Is this kind of a low point, and how do you kind of recover?
Yeah, I mean, look, we could have lost 3-2 in triple overtime, and the series is 2-1. So, how you lose in the playoffs really doesn't matter as much than it might in the regular season. We have a shot to get a split here on Thursday, and that's the focus at this point.
Evander, what do you look at? I mean, penalties aside, what do you look at?
Well, I think we were a little disconnected, especially through the neutral zone, from our end to the neutral zone. I think if we can be a little cleaner there and have a little bit more possession, come in unison, which will create better forechecks and easier to hold on to pucks and turn pucks over in the O zone. So I think if we can do a bit better job of that, that should help our game.
Is that partially their pressure? Did it get to you guys a little bit tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if it got to us tonight. We know they pressure. We know they pinch down on the wall. I think it's just about trying to execute the right game plan against that to counteract it.
You hear a lot in the regular season about watching this type of game away. Is that harder to do in the playoffs? Is that still something that you try to do?
Look, it's losing in the playoffs, whether it's in round 1, game 1, or the Stanley Cup final, it's never a good feeling. But we've been here before. We've been down in series before, and we've had tough losses. So it's it'll sting right now, and we'll flush it tomorrow and get ready for Thursday.
Thanks, Evander.
I like this answer to that question, where it doesn't matter how you lose, whether it's 6-1 or whether it's an overtime game, you just got to get rid of it. I'll ask the two players though: is there a difference? Like, is it more painful to lose the way they lost in Game 2, where they could have won in overtime, or to get completely dominated like this? Which is the easier one to get over?
That's a tough question.
Or does it not matter?
No, I think to a degree, because, the game wasn't close, right? So now all of a sudden, I think it's easier to throw it out.
Easier to
in
flush.
one respect, easier to flush when you've played a couple of overtimes. You're all bagged. You've all been playing a ton of minutes. Like you see McDavid and Draisaitl, they're not out nearly as much now. So I think it's an easier one to say, okay, we were all crap tonight. Like, let's flush this one down the toilet. Whereas when you're close, you're one shot away, that hurts. That's painful. But at the end of the day, he's poignant what he says. A loss is a loss right now. It doesn't, you got to get closer to that cup.
Chris Knobloch is in the back right now just burning the game tape and saying, because you can't think of anybody that had a good game for the Edmonton Oilers, really. I mean, Corey Perry scores a goal. There were a couple guys, a couple plays you could pull out and say, that guy played all right. But when you lose in double overtime, it's one mistake that you're circling. And you're going, geez, that was the difference in the game. It's a game of inches. There was no game of inches tonight. They just got run out of the building physically and on the score sheet.
Since we're just coming off Kane, he was responsible for some of those penalties early on. And if you were to point to one thing, look, the goaltending wasn't great. Florida was just a rare undiscipline for these Oilers in this playoffs. Was that the number one thing that caused this?
No question about that for me. And maybe it's motivated by, how we started the hot zone, and that was with Brad Marchand scoring with, just under a minute into the hockey game. Because now if you're the Oilers, you're all right, we've got to do something to bounce back. We cannot allow the Florida Panthers to establish their will. So you do try and get as physically, as emotionally engaged as you possibly can. And oftentimes it starts with the likes of Corey Perry, or in this case, it's Evander Kane. I mean, Evander Kane took 2 penalties relatively early, including this one, which is a high stick penalty, and it didn't stop there. We saw the Edmonton Oilers, again, undisciplined, taking too many men on the ice penalty. You had Darnell Nurse here, who gets tagged for the cross-check. That's a penalty. I mean, in that situation, he can take that call, and then he follows up because he knows he's getting tagged. And then just to add insult to injury, there's Stu Skinner, puck over glass, and the Florida Panthers one more time capitalize on the power play. Now, Florida went 3 for 11 with the man advantage in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup final. So you don't have to write stay disciplined on the whiteboard going into Game 4.
Anytime there's an 11, as far as the time that you're shorthanded.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, and I think that's a takeaway. Right? I think that's one of the takeaways from that game, is that, if you're going to flush it, you can flush it, but you have to look at the discipline, because it also caught up with them last game as well a little bit, right?
Well, self-inflicted. That's really what it was. A lot of those penalties, as you pointed out, that's 200 feet away from your goaltender. That's 5 cross-checks where, for Nurse, finally the ref goes, okay, that's enough. We're going to make that call. And then Stuart Skinner tries to hit the mascot with the puck.
Right. Look, the third period was just a whole period of messiness, but Wallman was asked about the water bottle squirting, which is funny because Brian Boucher was between the benches tonight.
I think he took a shot.
I think he was upset because I think he got squirted there. But look, obviously you're not getting suspended or anything, but don't you get in trouble for that?
Oh, anything from the bench. I can tell you through experience here, Colin Campbell, the head of hockey operations for the NHL, hates this stuff. Absolutely hates this stuff. So best case scenario, the Edmonton Oilers get a call. And it's just, look, we know, again, frustrations are boiling over to that point. You cannot squirt water.
It just sounds like a kindergarten teacher.
It seems.
Don't squirt your juice box.
I would love to just throw one out right now on you, Noodles.
He's not shooting acid over there.
I know, but
it
is a childish play. It really, truly is. I think it ends with a warning, but historically there have been fines. But normally it's a guy on the bench shooting water at a player who's in play. So we'll see.
The goaltending was fairly even through the first two games. You could say Skinner got slightly the best of Bobrovsky in game one. Bobrovsky was definitely better in game two. This was the first game where it was decisively one way towards Bobrovsky. Let's start by hearing from Stuart Skinner.
What did go wrong?
How did things go wrong?
Well, I mean, right away I thought we ended up playing what Florida kind of wanted, just a little bit of a track meet, a little bit of, grinding, lots of penalties. I mean, it was just penalty chaos tonight. Kind of started in the first period, letting a couple goals, one on the PK again, and then obviously Marchand's. And I think they were gritty tonight.
I know you'll take a closer look in the coming days, but what's your initial feeling on your night and the goals of PK and how you felt?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, some were chaotic, some were really nice shots. I got a little post lucky for them, a couple shots, but I mean, I've had my post luck too, so it goes both ways, and they made some nice shots. But I mean, as a goalie, you got to come up with a save. It doesn't matter. It's a game of inches. If I'm out, a quarter of an inch out farther on what's his name, for Hagee's goal, then, that could be a save. Same with Reinhart. So I don't like letting, open shots in. So I take accountability on those.
It's uncharacteristic for this team to, sir. It's uncharacteristic for this team to kind of lose the composure that they did. Like, what did you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what I really make up of it. I think you just see that there's a lot of emotions that are going into this. We're trying to win a cup. They're trying to win a cup. So there's fight. Some guys are flaking, going down, trying to cause penalties. The other teams don't like that. So then it's just going to be a battle, right? Obviously, I mean, we're not going to go down without swinging. They didn't do it when we beat them 8-1. I mean, they were cross-checking everybody. They were fighting us. They were doing everything to get under our skin. And so, I mean, it's going to go both ways.
The first couple of games were close. This one was pretty lopsided. Is that tougher to regroup from?
It might feel like it, but I don't think it is, just because it's a series. I mean, they're up 2-1. That's all it is. It's one game. They could have beat us 12-0. It's the same result. It's still just 2-1. It's not like if they win by any more that they go up extra. So it might feel a little bit harder just because we weren't in the game tonight. But it doesn't change how we're going to respond.
As much as you want to forget about last game, this one will be tougher. Do you want to remember that they can hurt you if you do mistakes? I
mean, no matter who you're playing against, if you don't show up, teams are going to hurt you. You can play anybody in the NHL. It's a good league. And we know that. We've experienced it tonight. We've experienced it many times before tonight. So we know what we're going to be up against. Doesn't change how we're going to respond again. We got 2 days to, come back, and I think there's some things that we're going to have to change.
How was it in the room after tonight?
Yeah, it was a little quiet, obviously, at first, because we obviously got it handed to us. But I think after that, Leo gave us some really good words of wisdom, gave us some motivation, and we know what we have to do. And we're still talking a lot, actually. Just before I came out here, there's a lot of conversations going on just on, how we got to, just show up better.
Stu, how difficult was it for you to get into the game from goaltender's perspective with all the penalties?
Yeah, Bob had to do it too. It's definitely tough just because there's not a lot of flow because there's no 5-on-5. So you're watching for 2 minutes, then you're playing for 2 minutes, then you're watching for 2 minutes, playing for 2 minutes. And that was kind of the whole first period. So yeah, it's definitely difficult. But again, that's hockey. If I wasn't able to handle it, I shouldn't be playing.
You guys have talked about how last year's experience made you mentally tougher, mentally more prepared for this series. Do you think Game 4 is the greatest test of that?
Every test from here on out is going to be the greatest test for that, win or lose. So I think no matter what, we're always going to be showing our resiliency, even in wins. So I think it's another test for us, another great test for us to come back and show everybody what we can do.
A year ago in this building, Connor fairly famously said, "Bring it, whatever you got, bring it." You at that moment now?
I think we were at that moment from game one, just because we know that if we don't do that, the same thing's going to happen last year. We could have gone down 3-0 pretty quickly. Obviously, we learned our lesson because we've gotten one win. This is another moment where we definitely got to look in the mirror and change a couple things and make sure that we, come back a lot harder game 4 here.
Thanks, Stu.
Much better night for the guy at the other end, Sergei Bobrovsky.
So you guys started to really pile up the goals there later on, but how big was the penalty kill early to kind of set the stage for this team and this win?
Yeah, it was tight game, definitely. After first period, half of the second, so it's still like even the goals. They got good team, they got good offense, good defense. So it's a battle.
Sergei, when they're killing penalties early like that, and you're seeing a lot of pucks early, what does that do for yourself and settling into the game?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to build the moment and trying to stay in the moment, and help the guys to win the moment.
So after the Oilers got 8 goals in the first 2 games, what do you think changed tonight that you guys were able to shut them down as well as you did?
I mean, they still made a good plays. They played great in their home. They played great here. So it's a good team, and we had the good PK. We had the good sticks. Guys played hard. Played our hockey.
Sergei, what about your play? 84 saves in the first 2 games, another 32 tonight. Where are you at right now? Are you in that zone?
Yeah, I mean, I just one at a time. One moment at a time. I don't think too much. It's a Stanley Cup final. I appreciate the opportunity and value the opportunity to play. It's a privilege to be here.
Sergei, when there's like a line brawl like that, like there was in the third period, you're on the other side of the ice. Obviously, just what's going through your mind?
No, nothing. It's part of the game. So.
Does it bother you when you got pushed down tonight? There was a penalty there. It seemed like they were trying to be more physical.
Oh, it's all right. It's also I appreciate the respect, but it's part of the game. They're gonna do that, and it's all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
116 saves in 3 games is a lot. And they asked him if he's in the zone. He said, I think so. I think we know so. Like, that looks like Bob's, particularly early.
Oh, yeah. In the first period, I mean, we were watching the game, guys, and we were talking about he is tracking so well. Like, he is finding that puck and making timely saves early in a game, right? And that allows your team to garner some momentum and go forward with it. And I thought that he was outstanding, making his 32 of 33 saves in this one. But when you're finding the puck, and Noodles, you can talk to this, but when you are looking, you're finding the puck and you're seeing it, you're controlling it, and you're pushing, like, with that kind of power, you're really feeling your game. But I also thought that he's just so aggressive. With that big frame, you are taking away the daylight, right? And you're also trusting the sticks. You heard him talk about the sticks in front of him. You trust the sticks in front of you to either box out or take away the back door. You can really challenge. And just like he's so assertive, he's got the quiet feet, but he's really getting to the top of his crease and challenging and made some great A saves.
He was the difference in the game in the first period because he broke Edmonton's spirit.
Yep.
Because Edmonton was pushing. They give up the early goal, and then Edmonton goes on the power play. At one point, the shots were 8-3. And Edmonton was generating a lot of high-quality chances, and Bob was on top of it. He was dialed in, and you could see right away when he's dialed in, as you mentioned, he's aggressive, he's at top of his crease, but you're not getting anything by him, and that's exactly what happened. And as the game went on, Florida took over, and that's what it was. But it was Bobrovsky early on that basically broke the spirit and said, not tonight, Edmonton.
And I'm interested to, sometimes as a shooter, sometimes you look to move the puck right east-west a little bit too much. So they had good sticks, but I thought on the power play that the Edmonton Oilers could have shot the puck a little bit differently, but sometimes that can get into your mind a little bit. Let's get him moving, let's go east-west, and sometimes there's a stick there.
Stuart Skinner always impresses us in the postgame, win or lose, but that doesn't help the Oilers in any way. And how much of this was on him tonight?
Well, he has to own some of it.
Which he did.
Yes, you can win any press conference because I think he wins. He's fantastic. But, he did not have his A game, just like the group in front of him. And you can't lay this loss at his feet. So I thought that was a mercy pull in the third period. That wasn't a pull because of his play. Now, I would argue this first goal against was a little bit of discombobulation, we'll call it. But, he even took basically ownership of some of the goals against, saying straight shots, I need to make these saves. Verhaeghe beats him short side. Reinhart beats him short side. No chance on this play. That's a one-timer on a backdoor on the power play. So, again, you can't lay the loss at his feet. But, like I said to you guys many times when we were watching this, the guy at the other end's making these saves, and that's the difference right now. Bobrovsky outplayed Skinner in the last 2 games. Yes, in the double overtime, it's one shot. Tonight, it was by several saves he did it.
Yeah, it was a mercy pull,
yes,
right?
It was.
We're not having a Cal Pickard conversation or a goaltending controversy developing going into Game 4 in Edmonton, because for the most part, Stu Skinner has been very, very good.
Yeah.
He's given, but they knew coming into Florida that he was going to have to be average or above average because of what you're going to get from Bobrovsky, and in Game 3, he was below average.
Let's hear from the Edmonton Oilers captain, Connor McDavid.
Connor, how much do you think that discipline, what you guys felt an issue was, just all the penalties and the flow of play, how much of that was an issue there?
Yeah, it was a weird game. Obviously, when you start in the first with, 4 penalties, almost half the period you're killing. So, not a good way to get into your game. Weird game. I thought a lot of power play and penalty kill either way. Never got to our game.
How do you assess the team's overall performance?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't our best, not our best at all. I don't think our best has shown up all series long, but it's coming. Shift the focus to finding a way to get a win in Game 4.
Con, it's uncharacteristic for this team to lose the composure, kind of like it did. What accounts for that, you think?
Well, I don't think we lost our composure until maybe the very end there, trying to show a little bit of fight back. But, I don't mind the fight back, obviously. I think that's what good teams do. They, obviously not thrilled with the first period, but giving up, as I said, 8 minutes in penalties. Power play is not able to get one. Their power play gets one, and you're in a hole right away in a tough building against a really good team. Not easy to chase games.
Do you look at that and say that's something we can fix because there's 3 offensive zone penalties?
Yeah, something we can fix for sure.
Stu mentioned after the game there was some discussion in the locker room. What's your message to the guys, or what I guess as a team, what's the message going forward here for the next game?
Well, we got to find a way to win a game. That's it. That's the only message. The focus shifts right away to winning a game on Thursday. We came for a split, didn't get it tonight. Another opportunity Thursday.
You guys had, some offense in the first couple of games. It was shut down a little more tonight. Do you feel like you guys were the architects of that, or did they do a better job on it? Where do you think the offense went?
I thought we got away from our game. Part of that's due to chasing it a little bit. Part of that is, obviously credit to them. They played well. You find yourself in a hole. You're going to do some uncharacteristic things, and I thought we got away from our game a little bit there. We've done well chasing down games and turning the tide there. Obviously, we didn't do it tonight.
Connor, was this style of game, like chippiness and all the stuff, all the extracurriculars, more to their liking than it would be to yours, do you think?
We feel like we can play any game. I thought when the game's out of hand, you're going to see that stuff. I don't think it was necessarily that way early on while we're still playing. When we get into garbage time, those things happen, and I don't mind when those things happen. It's as I said, it's what good teams do. Fight your way out of the rink. I don't mind that in garbage time, but obviously, as I said, the penalties in the first hurt us. You're down 2, you're chasing it. It's tough.
Skinner took blame for that, but can you guys be better in front of him?
Took blame for what?
For just giving up a couple goals. He would like that.
I don't know about that. Can we be better on the first one? Maybe just a little bit of a scramble. They get it, we don't. Sure, we can be better, harder in front of them there. The penalty kill, they got some good players, good shooters. You give them that much time, they're going to make their shot. So I don't know how much we're going to put on Stu, but that's honorable of him, I guess, to try to do that. But yeah, we can be better for sure.
Connor, you guys you've been rolling pretty good throughout. Is this kind of a low point for you guys, and how do you recover?
What's that?
You guys have been rolling pretty well to this point. Is this a kind of a low point for you guys, and how do you kind of recover?
This is a low point. Yeah, disappointed, obviously. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. You'd like to play better, but as I said, we came for a split. Didn't get that tonight. Have another great opportunity on Thursday to win in a tough building.
Connor, you said earlier in this scrum that you think your team hasn't brought their best yet. A year ago in here, you said to your teammates, whatever you got, bring it. Are we there Are we there now? Is that the point we're at with the series?
I think Game 4 is a really big game. You go back home 2-2 or down 3-1. It's a big swing game. If you win Game 4, you're going home with a lot of momentum. Just like them. They find a way to win Game 2. They come home with a lot of momentum. It's a pivotal game. There's no doubt about it.
Thanks, Connor.
Don't you feel like it's the series kind
Sure.
of Game 4? And I know it's
Yeah.
not. Look, the Oilers won 3 straight last year, down 3-0 before falling in Game 7. But I always feel like when there's 2 even teams like this, when it's 2-1, the 3-1, 2-2 difference just feels massive.
Well, and mostly because of how McDavid answered one of the first questions, right? Are you even remotely close to your best? And he said, we haven't played our best at any point of this series. Well, we're through 3 games. And what if that applies to the Florida Panthers? I mean, you just got swatted around 6-1 in Game 3. So that would make Game 4 pivotal, I think, is an understatement.
Well, he's not wrong, though. If you look at the second period in Games 1 and 2, they stunk.
Yeah.
And the Florida Panthers were fantastic.
Yeah.
And in this game, I mean, it was all 3 periods that Florida was the better team. So he's not wrong in his assessment saying we haven't played our best, especially for 60 minutes.
No.
But 2-2, 3-1, I mean, do the math. I mean, let's be honest.
And he said it was also an uncharacteristic game a little bit, right? It just felt off, especially with all the penalties in the first, not getting into flow. You look at someone like Leon Draisaitl not touching the ice as much, when you're on the PK, and so getting back to sort of a 5-on-5 game, which can be very important.
Sure.
Brad Marchand and Sam Bennett, heroes again. Both of them have 4 goals to lead this series. Here is Marchand now with Emily Kaplan.
Brad, you guys were total control of this one, start to finish. What led to that?
I thought we had a really good start, but they had a good push. I mean, they're a great team. They had a couple of really good opportunities, and after they got that power play goal, Rhino did a great job at extending the lead again. So I just liked their composure all the way through the game, but it was close early on, and we just did a good job sticking with it.
You said composure, tension's high, 140 total penalty minutes, but you guys end up with an 11-6 edge in power play opportunities. So what allowed you guys to be so composed?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just how it goes. And you just want to try to stick with it all game. And obviously when the score runs up a little bit, tensions get high. And sometimes we start it, sometimes they start it. But it's a lot of fun out there, so we're enjoying it.
All right, a lot of fun. You ready for this fun one?
Yeah.
You're now the first guy in Stanley Cup final history to score a game-winning goal in overtime and then the first minute in the following game. So what is fueling this heater you're on?
That's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you get the bounces, sometimes you don't. It's, the thing that I love about this group is everyone has a moment where, they step up, and guys have done that so far. But just an incredible group to be part of, and I'm just enjoying the moment.
You seem to love being a Florida Panther. What's the best part about it?
Everything's great. I think the thing that I enjoy the most is I enjoy being around good people, and everyone on the team is great. They've embraced me from the moment I got here, and I obviously very competitive, and I love the environment that's been created here. It's competitive every day. I mean, with everything we do, while guys are working out, guys are competing in darts and competing on their bike scores and obviously competing on the plane, different games, and it's all the time. So when you're having fun, you're working hard, it makes those moments even better, and it's just a great group to be part of.
Well, keep enjoying it. Thanks for the time, Brad.
Thank you.
The biggest change in late career Marchand, particularly this year, is how he always compliments the opponents Like he did that throughout the Toronto series. And here, it was a close game. The Oilers played great, where he never used to do that. I miss the trash talk. But it's working for him. Just another spectacular performance. And now a 2-1 lead. And as we mentioned, Game 4 seems to mean pretty much everything right now in this series. Don't forget, our entire post-game show, The Hot Zone, is available on YouTube.